Hi everyone, this is Captain Kautsky with 501st Physical Therapy. Today I'm going to be going over some hip stability drills with you guys. The reason why I wanted to kind of hit on this first is because I love giving out these exercises to patients because they are really good at helping with a multitude of different issues. So normally why I would give out these exercises if someone has back pain, hip pain, or knee pain. And the reason why simple hip exercises can help with all of these issues is because it helps stabilize the core, which helps decrease back pain, and then also it helps stabilize the lower extremity during activities like running. So if we're having runner's knee, jumper's knee, that type of thing, it really helps stabilize, keep you in forward momentum rather than side to side momentum. And when we're in single leg activities like running, it's all about that stability, because as we're taking that strike with that leg, if we're going side to side and causing knee tracking issues, then that's what normally causes that front or that anterior knee pain. So by stabilizing the hips, we stabilize the legs, we stabilize the core, and then overall help with a multitude of those issues, okay? So I'm going to be going over 3 exercises today. I'll kind of help you out through some progressions of how to make it harder, and then also how to adjust it to a non-gym setting, okay? So if you're just doing this at home, some helpful things to have would be a bench, a chair, your couch, a bed, something that's stable, okay? You don't want to do like a wheelie chair or anything like that, because ultimately it needs to be firm so that you feel confident falling back on it if needed, okay? Also, a resistance band, a TheraBand, something that's going to offer you a little bit of tension as you're trying to push against it with the legs, okay? And then something that's weighted, so a kettlebell, dumbbell, something like that. However, you know, we have the tools in our garage, okay? So we have rucksacks, IOTVs, A-bags, things that we can put stuff in that offer us that weighted resistance that we need for some of these exercises. So you guys have the tools. It can definitely be done in a home setting with no gym equipment, and is definitely possible just to do wherever you're at, basically. So before we get into the exercises, I have the caveat that if you are having any pain in the back, hips, or knees, and you haven't talked to me about it yet, I highly encourage you to talk to me at 269-369-3813, okay? And the reason why that is, you know, these exercises are great. You can definitely try them. However, if you have an injury that's limiting you, myself, as a physical therapist, should be aware of it so that we can specifically talk about what other exercises or what other interventions may be best for you as well, okay? So please reach out to me if you need to. All right, so the first exercise that we're going to be going over is going to be the monster walk, okay? So with that, a lot of people call it different things, crab walks, those types of things. However, I like to call it monster walks, and I like to do it 3 different directions, okay? So I like to do lateral, front, and back, okay? That's going to get the glutes, the quads, and the hamstrings all activated within one exercise, okay? So with this, what I normally like to do is start with the resistance band, okay? You can do it without a resistance band, but it's going to start getting easy pretty quick, okay? So what I would suggest is putting the resistance band first at the level of the knees, okay? That's probably going to be the easiest form of resistance to start off with. To make it harder, you want to move the resistance band down. So next I'd move it like below the knees, then to the ankle, then to the feet, okay? So as the band goes lower, the exercise becomes harder, okay? So first thing that you want to do is just get into a good squat position, okay? Or a good defensive position kind of thing if you used to play like football, basketball, that type of thing. So once you're in that position, you want to make sure that those knees are coming over the toes, okay? So if you're looking at me from the side, I'm sitting back, I'm not squatting forward, okay? So pushing the hips back, knees don't really change position too much. I'm I'm pushing the hips back, knees at a little bit of a bend, but they're not coming over my toes, okay? Once you get into that position, you're going to push the leg out and then control that leg coming back in, okay? So you don't want that leg to snap in, and you don't want to just kick that leg out. So we're controlling the out and we're controlling the back, okay? This you should start to feel on the outsides of the hip, okay? Now you can go in a side-to-side motion like I'm doing right now, or you can just do 10 straight out and then 10 back the other way. Whichever one, you're not going to get more benefit or more bang for the buck doing one over the other. The things that you don't want to do is let those knees come in, okay? So you don't want to push out and then let that knee come in, okay? And then you also don't want to become an accordion, all right? So what I mean by that is as you come out, you go down, and then as you come up, you go up. You don't want that, okay? You want to be staying at the same height the whole time, okay? Another thing is you want to make sure that the trunk is staying stable, okay? So as I come out, you should be seeing this type of thing, okay? You want to make sure that this trunk stays stable and staying up the whole time, okay? So once again, should be feeling a burn on the outside of the hips as well as those quads, okay? To do the other two directions, all you gotta do is once again get into that good starting position, knees not coming over the toes, knees are straight ahead, and then you're gonna push that leg up and out, up and out, up and out, okay? And then the same thing for going back, back and out, back and out, back and out, okay? With this, you're keeping the hips straight forward, okay? So you're not seeing me go like this, okay? The hips aren't twisting either way. The hips are staying straight forward, and then I'm just using my legs to go back, okay? Once again, to make that harder, move the resistance band down, and then go for higher repetitions. Once again, you should aim for 30 to 50 reps of this in a day, okay? But to start off with, just like with any new exercise, try 3 sets of 10, okay? Once that feels easy, try and move up to those higher reps, like 30 to 50, okay? So, after that exercise, we're gonna move into the eccentric squat, okay? Now, with the squat, you can keep the band around the knees, or you can do it without. Either one, the only thing is the band would help you to keep working on those outside of the hip muscles as opposed to mainly the quads, if that makes sense. So with the band, you're working more muscles at once, okay? So if we're doing the eccentric squat, like I said, I want you to have something stable to move back onto, okay? It's kind of like your security blanket. Eventually you won't need it, but to start off with, you're gonna need a little bit of a confidence booster because you're working on the proper squat form, which is sitting back rather than pushing those knees forward, okay? When you push the knees forward, you create a lot of compression on that kneecap, which eventually causes knee pain. But when you sit back, it focuses more on the quads and actually makes those muscles stabilize rather than relying on the kneecap itself, okay? So, with this, that sit back that I'm talking about looks like this, okay? So, that hip pushes back first thing, okay? I barely even moved my knees. So, you push those hips back, and then you try to go down. You notice that my knees are not coming forward, okay? They're staying back and my hip is just going down, okay? Try and keep a straight back. And what you're gonna do is eventually you're just gonna sit down, okay? As you're doing this, the weight should be in the heels, but the toes shouldn't be coming up, okay? You should keep flat feet, but you should notice that a lot of the pressure is at the heels, not the toes, okay? So, you're going to go ahead and come back up, and eventually eventually you're going to do a simple tap and then come back up. Overall though, you should be focusing on trying to take the most amount of time between standing and sitting, okay? So if it takes 5 Mississippis, 10 Mississippis, 20 Mississippis, the longer it takes for you to sit back, the more those quads are going to be working and the more they're going to fatigue, okay? And that's what you're going for. So you're going to once again come back, push those hips back. My knees aren't going forward. They're staying basically straight up and down. And then you're going to go to 5 Mississippis, tap, and then come back up. Okay. Like I said, to make that harder, put the band around the knees and make sure that you're pushing out. One of the things you don't want to be seeing are those knees coming in. So the knees should always stay forward and those hips should always push back, okay? So one of the cues I usually give for this is hips back, knees out, okay, as you're coming down. Don't want to see the knees coming in, don't want to be seeing those knees coming over those toes. Don't want to be seeing those forward knees right there, okay? Last way to make this harder is to make it a single leg exercise, okay? So, why we would do that is, once again, running is a single leg activity, and we need to stabilize as we're going one leg, one leg, one leg, one leg, okay? Over 6,000 to 12,000 steps. So you need to be working on endurance. So, how we would do that, single leg, bring the other leg straight up, and you're trying to stabilize that knee as you're coming down into the squat, okay? Another reason why you need something stable, because this, eventually you will kind of fall back on unless you're like really expert at like pistol squats or something like that. I'm not. I need something to, catch me. So, you are doing that single leg squat, and the whole point of this is to keep that knee forward. Okay? If you start to notice it coming this way or coming this way, try and correct it in the motion, okay? And if you can't, if you're just like, nope, I can't bring that knee back to center, just go ahead and fall back, because that's essentially a wasted rep. You don't need to be wasting your energy on it, okay? But even with a single leg rep, you're making sure that that knee's not coming over your toes, okay? So once again, you're not going like this. You are still sitting back, controlling that knee until basically you can't and you have to fall back, okay? That's why we need the bench, okay? Eventually you would probably become pretty good at this and you don't need the bench and you feel confident in it, but in the beginning, have something to fall back on, okay? So with that, make sure, once again, knee stays forward, doesn't wobble side to side. It's going to be a little unsteady. Obviously, you can see my knee shaking a little bit, but the whole point is that I control it and get it back to center, and I don't let that knee come over my foot, okay? Last exercise is going to be primarily for the hamstrings, okay? And what this one is, it's called Romanian deadlift, or RDL. I really like this one because we don't focus on the hamstrings too much, and this can help our running in more of the sprinting aspect, okay? So a lot of times, soldiers are sprinting and everything, they feel that pop in the hamstring. That's what we're trying to avoid. So this is a stretching and strengthening exercise for the hamstring, okay? So what you're going to do is start off with 2 legs, get a feeling for it. The whole thing is you're trying to feel a stretch in the hamstring, okay? And then from there, slowly add weight, and then once again, try and go to single leg, okay? So how this is going to look at first is feet basically shoulder width apart, and then again, just like we were doing with the squats, you're gonna push those hips back. But instead of bending the knees, you got a slight bend in the knees, but all of the motion comes from the hips, and that's it, okay? So, straight back, hips back. You're gonna go ahead and come forward, trying to basically bring that chest to the ground until you start to feel a stretch in the hamstrings, okay? And once again, when you feel a stretch, is going to be different than someone else feeling a stretch. So if you feel a stretch here, that's fine. If you don't feel a stretch until you're basically all the way here, that's okay too. The main thing is don't round the back, because then it becomes a back harming exercise. And then if you're starting to feel it in the back and not the hamstrings, it means you've rounded that back and now it's not helpful to you, okay? So, hips back, back straight, bring the chest down until you feel a stretch in those hamstrings, and then you're coming back up. Once again, the hinge is in the hip. All you're doing is moving the hip, okay? Once you feel comfortable with that, you can add a weight. Like I said, if you don't have a kettlebell or a dumbbell, rucksack, IOTV, anything, hold it in your hands, and then you're just coming down, okay? So for me, with the kettlebell, if you're doing it with both hands, you're trying to basically keep that weight in the middle of the legs. Once again, you're not letting those knees come in or out. You're keeping them straight. And you want to basically make sure that that weight stays as close to the legs as possible. So I'm not bringing it out here because then that becomes a back exercise and we don't want that. We're going to go ahead and bring the weight as close to the legs as possible. Feel a stretch in the hamstring and then bring it straight back up, okay? Once you feel like that exercise is too easy and you can do 30 to 50 reps, and it's not feeling that difficult, then you can move it to single leg, okay? Now, when you're doing single leg, I would suggest that you leave the weight alone for a little while and feel comfortable in the stability of the hip until, once again, you can reach higher repetitions and it's not difficult anymore. Then you can add weight. We'll go over that in just a little bit. But first things first, if I'm going to do it with just one leg, I'm going to go ahead and once again push that hip back, but as the hips go back, that non-used leg goes back as well. And I'm keeping my trunk stable and forward. I'm not rotating to one side, I'm not rotating to one side, and I'm keeping that knee in the middle. I'm not letting it come in, not letting it come out. I'm trying to keep it tracking straight forward, okay? With this, anytime you move it to a single leg activity, you're gonna feel more of a burn in the glutes because that glute is having to stabilize you from letting that hip fall to one way or the other, okay? So how that looks on the side is, once again, a little bit of bend in that knee. You're pushing the hips back, the leg back, and basically there should be a straight line between my head and the back of my foot, okay? Keeping that knee stable, a little bit more of a bend, and then you hinge back up and you bring that straight line straight up and down, okay? So, straight line as basically as horizontal as you can get until you feel a burn in, or kind of a stretch in that hamstring, and then you come straight back up, okay? Once you feel comfortable in that and you feel like you can add some weight to it, the main thing is it becomes more of a core exercise, because I want you to put that weight in the opposite hand as your planted foot, okay? What that does is when you put the weight in the opposite hand is it forces that center of gravity more towards that side, and it forces your core to stabilize so that you don't twist with the weight. That makes sense, all right? So once again, how that would look: opposite weight in the opposite hand as the planted foot, okay? So once again, you're going to go ahead and come down, trying to keep that weight straight forward, okay? You don't want to bring it in line with the foot because, once again, you're trying to pull center of gravity that way to challenge the core, and then you're going to come straight down. Okay, once again, keeping the chest stable. We're not twisting. We're not trying to overcompensate or anything like that. We're just trying to shift center of gravity that way to engage the core so that we keep a straight spine, a straight trunk all the way through. And then also remembering to keep that knee stable. You can see here my knee's trying to go in. You gotta fight to keep it out, okay? And then, once again, you're keeping that weight in line with the leg. So once again, it's not all the way out here. We're trying to keep it in line with the leg, but keep it off to the side, okay? And then we're hinging to come back up. So, those are your 3 hip stability exercises. If you have any questions or concerns about any of them, like I said, give me a call at 269-369-3813. We can set up a video consult so that we can exactly go over those exercises with you doing them, and I can provide helpful tips or tricks on how to tailor it to what your goals are, okay? Once again, that number is 269-369-3813. That's it for physical therapy for today. I hope everyone stays safe and stays healthy. Have a great day.